He'd never failed an interrogation. Never once misread a heartbeat, a blink, a tremor in a voice. Until the boy walked in and smiled. FBI profiler Jordan Tate is renowned for his ability to read lies with uncanny precision. But when he's assigned to interview a teenage suspect in a Los Angeles arson murder case, the encounter leaves him disoriented. The boy's story doesn't add up, but neither does Jordan's growing sense of familiarity with him. Haunted by fragments of his own forgotten childhood, Jordan begins to suspect that this case is more personal than he realizes, and that the boy's lies might be rooted in truths Jordan has buried for decades. Before we uncover today's case, a quick reminder. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a single clue, twist, or breakthrough in the stories to come. Now, let's dive into the case. The conference room inside the Wilshire Federal Building had the kind of cold silence that made even veterans clear their throats before speaking. Jordan Tate preferred it that way. No distractions, no warmth, just tension. It made the lies float to the surface. He sat alone on one side of the long metal table, flipping through the slim manila folder they'd given him. Case hashtag A23711. Fire. 3 dead. Only survivor. A teenage boy with no prior record, no known affiliations, and a story so clean it was already suspicious. The door creaked. Agent Rivas stepped in, holding the boy by the shoulder. He said his name's Micah, she murmured. 15. Says he was trying to save them. Jordan closed the file and looked up. The boy was slight long limbs, short locks, scab on one cheek. He looked at Jordan and smiled. Jordan didn't smile back. You can wait outside, Rivas, Jordan said, still watching the boy's eyes. Rivas raised a brow but stepped out. The door clicked shut behind her. Jordan gestured to the chair opposite him. Sit, Micah said. No hesitation, no twitch, just those same steady eyes. What's your full name? Micah Devane? Date of birth? August 3rd, 2010. Parents? Dead, Micah said, flat. Foster care since I was 9. Jordan paused. That wasn't in the file. He made a note. Tell me what happened Thursday night. Micah inhaled, eyes still locked on Jordan. I was at the shelter. Some older boys were fighting. I stepped outside to get air. Then I smelled smoke. Came back in, and everything was fire. Jordan waited. Micah leaned forward. I tried to pull Jackson out. He was only 8. But the beams fell. Jordan flipped the file open again. Jackson Thompson. One of the deceased. Micah's eyes flinched. Barely. A micro-reaction. Jordan tapped the folder. You say you were outside when the fire started. Why did you go back in? I told you. To help. Jordan leaned in, voice soft. Micah, you're not afraid of fire. That's unusual. Most kids are. I'm not most kids. That line didn't come from a scared 15-year-old. It came too smooth. Too rehearsed. Jordan narrowed his eyes. You've seen a fire before. Micah shrugged. Everyone's seen a fire. That's not what I asked. Silence. Jordan's pen tapped against the metal table. You're lying. Micah tilted his head. Am I? There it was, that damn smile again. Jordan's stomach twisted, and he couldn't explain why. It wasn't the smile itself. It was the feeling it left behind. That he'd seen it before. In a different room. On a different face. Micah leaned back, arms folded. You're good at this, right? That's what they say. Jordan didn't respond. They said you can tell when someone's lying just by how they breathe. Jordan stayed quiet. Micah grinned. So, what happens if I'm better? Jordan's jaw clenched. He had interviewed serial offenders, political manipulators, children who saw death before they ever saw love. But this boy had a confidence that felt old, like it wasn't born in him. It had been taught. Do you know the names of the two adults who died in the fire? Micah nodded. Ms. Ellie, Mr. Ron. Ron wasn't listed in the media. How do you know his name? Micah blinked once. I heard the firefighters say it. You were inside, unconscious, when they pulled you out. Silence. Jordan leaned forward. Want to try again? Micah looked down. For the first time. And in that moment, something shifted. Jordan caught it not in Micah, but in himself. A memory, faint and sharp, like a shard of glass under old skin. The smell of ash. A voice yelling his name. A door that wouldn't open. Micah looked up slowly. You ever forget something for so long? It feels fake when you remember it? Jordan froze. Micah's gaze didn't waver, like a dream you keep having, until one day you realize it wasn't a dream. The silence grew heavy. Jordan's pen stopped moving. Micah leaned in. We've met before, haven't we? Jordan stared at the boy across the table, trying to hold his breath steady. We've met before, haven't we? The words shouldn't have carried weight. Not from a kid he'd only just met. Not from someone who, on paper, had no direct link to his past. But they did. They landed like an old cassette tape, slamming back into a forgotten player jarring, unwelcome and too damn loud. Jordan straightened in his chair, gripping the pen a little too tightly. That's not how this works, Micah, he said, voice low. You answer the questions. You don't ask them. Micah didn't blink. I think I just did. The profiler flipped back through the file, now more to stall than to read. He'd memorized every line already. Micah Devane. No juvenile record. Bounced between group homes and temporary placements since 2019. Mother died from an overdose in Reseda. Father unknown. At least, according to the file. Jordan looked up again. Where were you in 2014? Micah raised an eyebrow. I was 4. Jordan nodded. Exactly. And that's when the first fire happened. The one that burned down the house in Echo Park. That one didn't make the news, but it's in our system. One body, woman in her 30s, unidentified. Micah's stare flattened, something retreating behind his pupils. Jordan leaned forward, voice colder now. You told Rivas you'd never been to Echo Park. That a lie too? Micah said nothing. You've set fires before, Jordan continued. That's why you weren't afraid this time. That's why you didn't hesitate to run in. You knew how fire moved. Still nothing. Jordan pressed, eyes sharp. What happened in that first house, Micah? I don't remember, Micah said, finally. But you remember me? A beat of silence. I remember the smell, Micah said softly. I remember a voice yelling at me to get under the bed. And I remember crawling until I saw a man's shoes, shiny black shoes. Like yours. Jordan's blood chilled. He hadn't worn those shoes in years, not since Quantico. But back then, he stood abruptly, pushing the chair back with a screech. I need a break. Before Micah could respond, Jordan turned and opened the door. Rivas was waiting outside. She looked up, caught the tension in his jaw. Everything okay? Jordan didn't answer. He kept walking down the hall, past the water fountain, past the frosted glass windows of the behavioral analysis unit, all the way to the end of the corridor, where the elevator doors reflected back his tight face. What the hell is happening? The boy was lying. That part was clear. But it wasn't just manipulation. It was targeted. Like Micah knew exactly how to dig under his skin. And that name, Echo Park. Jordan hadn't heard it in years. Hadn't been back since he was 17. Since the fire that took his mother. He never told anyone about the small boy he remembered seeing that night, curled up under the staircase, eyes wide in the smoke. He assumed he'd imagined it. Trauma played tricks. But now, the elevator opened, and Jordan stepped in. He pressed B to the archives. If he was going to unravel this, he needed more than instinct. He needed proof. Archive room, 47 minutes later. The records clerk was an older black woman named Patrice. She chewed cinnamon gum and didn't ask questions when Jordan handed her a sticky note with a case. ID from 2014. Been a while since someone pulled this one, she muttered, waddling over to the back room. Jordan waited at a corner table, hands clasped tightly. He stared at the manila folder Patrice brought back like it was a sealed memory about to come undone. Inside, grainy photos from the Echo Park fire. A melted light switch, a singed bed frame. One partial child's drawing water damaged, but visible. It showed a house on fire. 2 stick figures inside, one outside. A sun in the top corner, smiling. On the back of the paper was a name scribbled in faded red marker. Micah. Jordan's stomach sank. No last name, no fingerprints found at the scene. The child had never been identified until now. He turned the page, then froze. There it was, a supplemental report. Interview notes, J. Tate. He'd forgotten this part. Somehow, forgotten he was ever logged in that case. Back then, he'd been a ride-along intern shadowing arson investigators. The last line in the report made his throat dry. Child survivor believed to be experiencing shock. Repeated phrase, don't let him find me again. Child removed from scene before ID could be processed. No follow-up conducted. Jordan swallowed hard. Again? Who was him? And why did Micah remember him? Back in interrogation room. Micah was sitting calmly when Jordan returned, arms still crossed. You left real fast, the boy said, barely a smirk this time. Jordan didn't sit. He dropped the child's drawing onto the table. Micah looked at it for a long time. You remember that? Jordan asked. Micah nodded. I drew it the day before. Before the fire? Before he came back. Jordan's voice dropped. Who came back? Micah finally looked up. You're chasing the wrong flame, Agent Tate. The fire wasn't the crime. It was the cover-up. Jordan felt something tighten in his chest. Micah leaned in again. Want to know why you forgot me? Jordan didn't answer. Because someone made sure you did. The words, someone made sure you did, echoed in Jordan's mind like a match strike in a sealed room. Micah leaned back, folding his arms with that eerie calm again, like he just said something obvious. Jordan stayed still, hands braced on the cold metal table. Every instinct told him to pull the brakes, to call in backup, loop in the Bureau's behavioral unit, even order a psych-eval for both of them. But another instinct, deeper and older, whispered, don't let this kid go. Not yet. Jordan's voice was quieter now, almost flat. Who made me forget? Micah looked at him, unblinking. That's your piece to find. Mine was just the spark. Jordan sat down slowly. You said someone came back. The man. In 2014. The one you were hiding from. Micah nodded. You saw him again this year? No, Micah said. But I think you did. That landed like a slap. Jordan's mouth went dry. He pulled the drawing closer and flipped to the back again, staring at the scribbled name. Just Micah. No last name. No system record of where the child was placed after the Echo Park fire. Just vanished into the foster care churn like so many others. It was like the boy had been ghosted into the system, or erased. Tell me who the man was, Jordan said firmly. Micah shrugged. All I know is he liked fire. The quiet kind. He used it like a pen, not a weapon. Jordan frowned. What does that mean? It means, Micah said, lowering his voice, he didn't set fires to kill people. not directly. He set them to rewrite things, files, records, people's pasts. Jordan felt a chill crawl down his back. That wasn't arson. That was precision. Micah tilted his head. Did your mother die in a fire, Agent Tate? Jordan blinked. Because I saw a woman screaming in a room, and I remember you. I remember you couldn't get her out. Jordan's hands curled into fists beneath the table. I was a kid. You were there, Micah interrupted. You tried, but someone pulled you away. Jordan remembered flashes, screaming, smoke, a hand on his arm, dragging him down the hallway. He remembered yelling, Mom, but not the face of the man who stopped him. Never the face. I think he wanted you to forget her, Micah whispered. Like he wanted me to forget my mom. Jordan shook his head, the world spinning too fast now. You said I saw him again. Where? Micah paused, then said, the night of the shelter fire, I saw a car, parked across the street. Black's UV. Lights off. Same model I saw outside the Echo Park house back then. Jordan stiffened. Black SUV. He'd seen one too, 3 nights ago. Parked outside his apartment. No license plates. He'd brushed it off, assumed it was an unmarked Fed. But, what are you saying, Micah? Someone is watching both of us? I'm saying, the boy said slowly, you forgot me. He made sure of that. But maybe he didn't expect us to find each other again. Jordan closed the file slowly. Why now? Why did the fire happen now? Micah stared at the table. I was supposed to age out next year. Go quiet? Disappear? Jordan narrowed his eyes. And I found something in one of the foster files, Micah whispered. A list. Names. Dates. Most of them were kids. Some of them were marked control subject. One of them was me. Jordan's heartbeat thumped in his ears. Micah slid a crumpled paper from his pocket and placed it on the table. It was barely legible smeared ink, water damage. But one name on the list stood out like a knife under a flashlight. Tate, Jordan, observe. No clearance. Archive only. Jordan's breath hitched. Micah whispered, you were never supposed to be a profiler. You were supposed to disappear, too. Hours later, Jordan's apartment, 103 Amapus still. Too still. Jordan sat in the dark, staring at the list over and over, every muscle in his body stiff with unease. He should have called his supervisor, turned everything in. But something told him that wouldn't help. If this thing reached into federal archives, someone had covered it from the inside. He stood up, went to the cabinet beneath the hallway vent, and pulled out a rusted lockbox he hadn't opened in years. Inside, a faded photo of his mother holding him at the beach. Her necklace black stone, sharp-edged. A newspaper clipping of the Echo Park fire. And a USB. He didn't remember putting the USB there. His fingers shook as he slid it into his laptop. One folder. Untitled. One file. Audio_1999.wav. He clicked it. A man's voice filled the room. Calm, soft, measured. Subject Tate has shown resistance to early-stage emotional disruption. Recommend relocation of guardian under Level 2 event. Child should undergo passive memory reshaping via visual reinforcement. Observation to resume at adolescence. Jordan slammed the laptop shut. His hands were trembling. That was his name, his life. Being spoken like a test subject. The voice wasn't familiar. But something about its tone, it matched something. The way Micah talked about rewriting things with fire. Jordan grabbed his coat, grabbed the file, and texted Reva's one word. Meet. Across town. A dimly lit warehouse. Same time. A man in a dark suit watched the footage from a surveillance drone on a monitor. The screen showed Jordan pacing in his apartment, the faint echo of audio leaking from his laptop. The man leaned forward. Subject awareness escalating, he murmured. Behind him, A second voice said, "And the boy?" The man turned. "Micah Devane is the key. If he remembers everything, it collapses. Should we initiate recovery?" A long pause. Then, "Not yet. Let them run. Sometimes. The flames reveal more when they think they're free." He smiled, then turned off the monitor. Downtown L.A. underground parking structure. 327, eh? Agent Jordan Tate drove with headlights off, heart racing as he descended the concrete spiral. The city above was dead quiet, but down here, every echo of his tires against the walls felt like a warning. Rivas was already waiting in the shadows near a maintenance exit, hood pulled low, hands in her jacket. "You good?" she asked as he stepped out. Jordan didn't answer right away. He handed her the printed list Micah had given him and the USB. She scanned the file under the dim overhead bulb. "Jesus, what the hell is this?" "I think," Jordan said quietly, "we were part of something before we ever joined the Bureau." Rivas stared at him. Jordan continued, "It's a black project. Early 2000s. Experimental conditioning. They took kids from unstable households, some from fires they lit themselves, and reshaped them. Some became assets, some got erased. And you think you were one of them?" He didn't blink. "I don't think I know." Rivas looked down at the USB again. "So what now? You want to blow it open?" "That's the problem," he said. "This doesn't exist. Not in any system, not with a paper trail. Just whispers and burned houses. You have a witness. That boy. They'll kill him before he can testify," Jordan cut in. "And if they can't, they'll bury him in psych holds until his words don't matter." Rivas looked at him. "And you?" Jordan looked away. "They'll do the same. Or worse." Silence. Then Rivas exhaled and stepped closer. "I've got a friend at the L.A. Times doesn't scare easy. You give me everything you've got, draw a straight line, and I'll get it to print. You sure you're ready for what comes next?" "No," Jordan said. But Micah didn't light that fire just to survive. He lit it so someone would finally listen. Rivas tucked the USB into her jacket. "Then let's make sure somebody does. Westlake shelter, hidden room behind furnace, 501 Micah crouched in the dusty crawl space, hugging his knees. He could still hear the voice from the memory soft, clinical, calm. "You're going to be fine. Just forget her. You'll get a new name. A better life." His mother's screams had burned into his skin long after the flames had been put out. Now the voice was back. Not in his head in the real world. Footsteps above. Measured. Confident. Micah didn't move. Just held his breath. A hand suddenly reached down into the crawl space. Gloved. Firm. "Come on," Jordan said. "We've got a ride. L.A. Safe House. 914A. The room smelled like stale coffee and dust. Jordan poured Micah a glass of orange juice, setting it in front of him. The boy looked exhausted, but alert. Trauma didn't dull his sharpness. It seemed to sharpen it. "They'll come after us," Micah said. "You know that, right?" Jordan nodded. "They already are." He pulled out a flash drive one, not from the Bureau. "This has a full dump of the orphanage placements, fire department irregularities, and witness suppression requests tied to the Project Echo files. Not just yours. Mine, too." Micah blinked. "Project Echo?" Jordan nodded. "That's what they called it. Children who survived fires. Some were accidents. Most were setups. The Bureau wanted to study how trauma rewrites the mind. They just didn't expect one of their experiments to grow up and join them." Micah smirked, but there was no humor in it. "They wanted you to forget, but you didn't." Jordan looked at the boy across from him, the kid who was supposed to vanish, like so many others. "They burned our pasts thinking we'd never find each other." Micah met his eyes. "They forgot one thing." Jordan raised a brow. "What's that?" Micah leaned forward. Fire doesn't erase everything. Some things survive. 1 week later, a quiet diner in Arizona. The waitress poured coffee for a man seated alone near the window. He looked ordinary, middle-aged, polished suit. Black sunglasses even indoors. He opened a newspaper. Across the front page, unsealed federal files link foster system fires to covert psychological program. Whistleblower FBI, profiler missing after explosive leak. He folded the paper carefully, slid his phone from his jacket, and tapped a number. "It's out," he said. Echo burned through containment. A pause. "No, not yet. The boy and the agent are ghosts now. Off-grid." Another pause. He sighed. Then, initiate phase 2. Final scene. Road through the desert. 6:42 p.m. A dusty pickup truck moved down a long, empty highway, desert sun painting the sky in bruised pinks and golds. Inside, Jordan drove in silence. Micah sat in the passenger seat, knees drawn to his chest, staring out at the nothingness. "You sure about New Mexico?" Jordan asked. Micah shrugged. "Deserts are good for quiet. No cameras." Jordan nodded. "There's a woman there. Friend of Riva's off-grid clinic. Knows how to keep people hidden." Micah glanced sideways. "What happens after that?" Jordan looked ahead, expression unreadable. "We decide whether we're done running or ready to start fighting." Micah reached into his pocket, pulling out the charred edge of the old drawing, the one he made after the first fire. He looked at it, then out at the desert. "I think I'm done hiding," he said. Jordan didn't smile. But for the first time in days, he relaxed his grip on the wheel. The sun kept setting. The road stretched forward. And behind them, the smoke of everything they'd lost rose quietly into the past. If you felt something watching this, don't scroll past it, because the next case is like this. It's already on its way, somewhere, and the silence around it is already forming. This story wasn't about drama. It was about reality, about broken systems, blind spots, and decisions made too late. You don't need to be a detective to see the pattern. You just need to pay attention, so before it happens again, speak up, ask the uncomfortable questions. Push for accountability. Don't wait for the cuffs or the body count. Your voice matters more than you know. Like, share, comment. Be part of the reason it doesn't happen again.